And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Live with Yana live stream. And tonight's topic is top employee retention strategies in IT industry. So thank you so much, as usual, everyone, for finding some time to join our live discussion this evening. Please make sure to introduce yourselves in the comments. Let us know what you do and join our conversation with your comments and questions. If you're new to my live show, I'm Yana Martins, and I've recently entered IT industry myself. So I'm passionate about learning more and also sharing my new findings with you on this channel. So again, tonight we are talking about top employee retention strategies in IT industry. And Brian is going to share his stories and his experience when it comes to retaining and motivating your staff. So obviously, incredibly relevant topic, especially, for those in managing position, leadership positions, or business owners as well. So make sure tag and share it with your colleagues and friends who need to hear this. So before I pass it on to Brian to introduce himself, I just want to quickly remind you that we are going live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. To watch the replays, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, IT Career in Australia. I'm going live there every Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Melbourne time, with various experts from my network. And we're talking about all the things around IT career, job search, and some specifics of IT industry in Australia. So also, I always encourage you to join my meetup group so you can actually get notification about upcoming discussions. And as usual, we're going to try to answer all your questions from all the platforms. Please make sure ask as many questions as you want. Just stay on the topic, please. And the most active participants will also receive a nice surprise at the end of the stream. So, and also as usual, I really encourage you to use this live stream as your opportunity, not only to learn new information, but to network with people in the industry. So, and again, I do really encourage you to say hi in the comments, because if you're not saying hi, I don't know that you're here, and it feels like we're just talking with the crickets. So anyway, that's enough of me. I'm just passing on to Brian to introduce himself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yana. Hello, everybody. My name is Brian Duckworth. I'm a marketing and business growth strategist. One of the key things I did found when I was doing research last year was most IT companies have as one of their top 3 challenges the issue of managing people. And it's, look, I liken it to the business owner balancing on a stool juggling chainsaws. It's not their field of expertise. They're technopreneurs. They're highly technically skilled. And managing people is a very different skill from the technical side. Just a little bit of background. I'm a CPA, over 40 years there, worked in Telstra in marketing, IT, as well as finance. Then moved to our own business where I managed that business and was responsible for attracting, retaining, and motivating staff. And they had the plus benefit, which all business owners out there will appreciate, writing the payroll check every Thursday morning so everyone got paid before the weekend. That is always a challenge in small business, in any business. So that's my experience in a nutshell. I could probably go on for hours, but we want a conversation, don't we, Yana?
Definitely, Brian. I guess, it's a massive topic, staff retention. And there's, I guess, a lot of things we can talk about tonight. But I guess just to start with, I guess overall, what do you see as a, major problem with, managing people and, employees' retention strategies overall?
There's 2 major problems. One, people are operating from 20th century methodology, where recruitment, retention, and motivation are 3 silos. They don't talk to each other. There's no strategic integration. Pretty much it's completely broken. the second major one is they are not looking at the whole process holistically. And we can talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs and Tony Robbins' 6 core human needs. And they, whilst they might seem a bit woo-woo to technical people, once you break those down into your people management system, you see how relevant they are. If you do that, you've got a head start on retaining your people.
And I guess, I guess coming back to this silos here, that's like one of the main problems that we see. Then, like there's one person who was hiring you, like who did the interview with you. And then, if you're lucky, you met like a hiring man, like your actual manager or like a team leader once in the process. And then, you end up working with completely different people that you was dealing with in the beginning of the recruitment process.
Oh, that is so true. That's so true. Yeah. Like, as I mentioned, I was in Telstra, and you'd have your review, and it was nothing about building your career, building your skills. It was all about ticking a box to make sure that HR had something. Yes, he's had a peer review. That was all it was about. It was just box ticking. It wasn't informative to either myself or the manager.
Yeah. I guess, it also comes, the bigger companies will have a bigger silos. Maybe with smaller companies, it's a bit more intimate in terms of, the most of the team might meet the candidate in the beginning. But yeah, so Brian, I guess the broad question, why actually people leave?
Now, who's been on Twitter lately? And
we haven't used Twitter for ages, actually.
Okay. Well, the latest is there's a Twitter battle going on between one of our Aussie business owners, I think he's Atlassian or somewhere of that nature, and Elon Musk. Elon Musk has put out a tweet. Anyone that doesn't come back to the office will be deemed as having abandoned employment. Now, you can imagine how that makes a worker feel. He doesn't feel like talent, or she doesn't feel like talent. She feels as though she's not important anymore. And retention is largely about getting things that matter to people. And I'll just digress a little bit. We've got Gen Z and millennials. They have totally different wants, needs, and desires to people of my generation, because they're things that press their buttons are things like the environment, belonging to a group, equality, diversity, LGBT, GT.
And all the letters.
All the letters, yes, the alphabet. And the environment. So if you don't have that as part of your consciousness, your core values, they're not even going to look at you. And having that is a side benefit is you also attract people who want to buy your services who hold those values. So it's a very positive outcome for a business.
And I guess you already mentioned that retention, it's, I guess need to be interconnected, with things like recruitment and motivation. So it's not really just standalone. Where it sits, in the process, this retention of the talent.
So this is my model of how the system works, and everything is interrelated. So from optics, onboarding, into retention and motivation. But if we just focus on retention, and what you really want is to achieve the outcome of having a team of A players, because A players are 2 to 3 times more productive than B players, and generally without the angst and diva behavior. So, and that's always a problem. We had a real estate agency, and you get a gun real estate agency, and they're a real diva. You talk about Beyonce with her demands and overrides on her concerts, these gun people are way above that, and they're doing it every day. So that whole process is integrated, but in terms of retention, there are those three aspects: reward, personal development, and expectations, and they're supported by the attract and motivate side as well. So if we perhaps look at reward as the starter, probably most people think about reward as being paying more, sign-on bonuses. Has anyone come across sign-on bonuses in the IT industry?
Yeah, definitely. There is. It is, I guess, getting more popular. I don't know if anyone, guys, like who's in the stream today. Have you ever, seen this? Or I guess a lot of referral bonuses as well.
Yeah, referral bonuses. That's another.
Yeah,
now, I haven't seen sign-on bonuses for many years, from the start of the mining boom over in the West, where you could get an extra 10,000 just for signing on for a 6-month fly in, fly out. So that's very, very unusual, but it's a symptom of the times. IT Council of Australia in September said the industry as a whole needed 130,000 people in the next 12 to 18 months. They have updated that in March, and that's now 200,000. So if you don't retain your people, they're going to leave just because of $5 or some other slight that they've received. So it's vital that we have that retention strategy, because every time you lose someone, it's a disaster. It's got a hard cost of $20,000 a person, let alone all the soft costs that you don't hopefully you think about them, but most people don't.
And like, Brian, do you think like, so obviously we're talking about one part of the retention, reward as one part of the retention. Yeah. But like, I guess in terms of now that a lot of people working remotely, and, there is, lack of this, I guess, a bit of a lack of this feeling of belonging, lack of the getting involvement and making friends in the workplace. It seems like a reward getting a bit more weight when the people, choosing the job, because they basically just still sitting at the same desk at home, and someone calling them and just offering them more money, and they basically don't even need to move anywhere. They just resign the contract and keep sitting in the same, keep sitting at the same spot, looking at the same computer.
Exactly, and running a hybrid work environment is not as easy as it sounds. Apart from the IT side with cybersecurity and all the rest, you need to be able to put in place the provision for the water cooler. We all know the water cooler. It's where we sit, we have a coffee, we have a chat. How's the football? Did you watch Big Brother? Did you watch Dancing with the Stars? We have that chat. So as businesses, we have to recreate that for a hybrid workplace. And it's not something that's highly on the radar at this stage, but it is essential. Because again, the sense of belonging, being part of a tribe, that's all part of that, especially in areas where we can easily have a hybrid environment, such as IT managed services.
We have a comment from Heath here. Market is so hot right now. 20K sign on is not uncommon for a senior engineer. People are moving and getting a 30, 50K annual bump, and employers can't replace the people they are losing. So, yeah, so I guess coming back to, this slide, like reward still important, but, how we can make the reward not the main motivation for people to move the job.
Yeah, that's the issue, that people just think about straightforward money rewards, how much they're paid. The 20, as Heath says, the 20,000 sign-on bonus, 30 to 50 bumps every year. I actually have a colleague that works in IT as a coach and coaches IT people to double their salary. And so what he's saying is quite correct. The key is to get a system of reward that is more value than just money. So, for example, profit share, where you have a profit share where it can be a percentage of profits. So business allocates 20% of the net profit for bonuses to be shared. You then have an ownership where the owner might allocate a set of unit holdings or shareholding to workers, and they would be rewarded by a dividend. So that is something that is outside the norm, not done very often. And then, of course, there's the traditional bonus structures based on targets achieved, so on and so forth. So it seems like a lot of money going out, but once you get this in place, productivity will rise by 10, 20%. And that has the impact on your customer base that they are happier, that they appreciate the work you do, because your workers are more happy. That's going to instill on clients. And you can then go to clients as someone offering a service rather than someone selling a service. Two totally different aspects. Then there's the benefits side of it, which is the other big side of it. For those that have been in a managed services environment, you're getting calls every day, every minute, all different. No one's happy, because if they were happy, they wouldn't be calling you. Quite easy. So if you had with the workers, instead of having to work every day, hey, Jack, take the afternoon off, and I've booked you into the Saltaire Spa for a massage, mani-pedi, hair, whatever is of value to that person. And then that's something that they would value.
Especially if you know what they like, especially if you have a process in place to actually understand your employees, understand what they would enjoy, because someone will enjoy spa, someone, I don't know, will enjoy golf. I don't know, someone enjoy
a corporate box at the
skydiving.
Football. Yeah, skydiving. For me, no thanks, no skydiving. Why jump out of a perfectly good aeroplane? I think that's the saying. And again, part of this is in the one-to-one reviews. I think I mentioned Telstra, if you're lucky, it was once every year. If you weren't, it was once every 18 months. My recommendation is every 3 weeks. Now, it's not it's not an hour. It's a catch-up, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. How's it all going? How's your expectations being met? These are the things we're working on from last time. How are they going? So it's a real check-in. And because it's every 3 weeks, that gives you 17 touches with your worker every year. And that is immense, because they're going to feel value. And it means that we've got to teach our managers how to do that. We've got to uplift their skills. So
I guess, again, getting harder and harder as a big organization is, because I guess in a small organization you can personalize those benefits that I guess make people more important and appreciated, where like in a big organization I feel like it's a bigger challenge, because you can't just customize the spa package for every employee.
No, but the key is, as part of their career path, you start from being someone that's on the phones, then you move to someone who is on looking after a team of, let's say, 3, then that grows to 5 to 7 to 9, and they move up the career path. So it's really, if you set it up on a military style basis, so you have 9 in a, or what is it, 21 in a platoon. They're managed by a sergeant, then there's a corporal, then a lieutenant, so on and so forth. And each has different responsibilities. So that's one way you can do it. So you have smaller teams, smaller management structure, and it's very boots on the ground management.
Yeah. And I guess you have another question as well here. Interesting work is one of the few things I have seen keep high performance moving on for more cash.
So true. They're actually not moving for more cash, Heath. In my opinion, they're moving because they're not appreciated and they don't have clarity of where they're going in the business. And they have no incentive and no loyalty to stay with that business.
And I guess, coming back to, the strategies, we mentioned about the rewards, and we have different types of reward that we can, involve. So what about, this personal development? So, then they can't see that, people can't see that, that path, how we can improve, how we improve this capability, how we can actually make sure that people don't move to another company again. It's a really common thing, what we see in IT industry. Someone just bored. They want a more exciting project. That's what, Heath just mentioned, interesting work. So they've been working on the same platform for year and a half, especially there is no new features coming up. There is no big changes. People just get bored and want to try something new. So how we can prevent that?
Yeah, so that's a combination of several things, and particularly in the personal development, because there's three aspects of personal development. One's having a development plan and communicating. So you need to be able to, and this is why we have 17 sit downs, because the A player needs to be challenged. And they also need to understand what being an A player is. They need to have a development plan for themselves personally, as well as technically. So there's two aspects to it. So a development plan might be to make them a better communicator, in which case they might be put through an NLP course. A development plan might be, on the other hand, let's get them into a UPW. Let's bring in a financial planner who will work with businesses at their people level to make sure that they build a future for themselves. And on the technical side, productivity skills and building those skills to move on to your next level within the business. I must admit, I can go on for hours with that one.
But I guess, my question would be who will be responsible for that? Yeah. So, we need to put this, personal growth plan, technical plan in place. Where, obviously, everyone's busy these days. Yeah. So who would be responsible for that? Is the direct manager responsible for that? Is HR responsible for that? How we can implement it without, using that much resources?
Yeah. Yes, it is resource hungry. There's no doubt about that. But the overall responsibility is with the owner of the company or the business, or the manager, the person that basically signs the checks and approves everything. So they have to be committed to do this from a cultural point of view and from a communication and leadership point of view. Now, they're not, if you've got 20 employees, they're not going to be having a sit down with 20 employees. That's why you have the career path, which puts people in charge of other members of their team, so that there is a linkage there where you can build that close relationship. Because I'm sure we've all been in IT businesses where you never see your manager. He's on the floor above and you just come in, do your work and go home. Whereas if you've got a close supervisor, you've got a team. And what's that saying about teams? There's no I in team. So if you're working as a team, you're going to be far more successful because you'll help each other. And
So
that's
do you
so
think
important.
like I guess we can make like as I don't know, as a part of the team? So I don't know, we have like 8 developers there, I don't know, 2 testers, BA, I don't know, like product owner. Can we make them accountable to each other or something like that?
Yes, you can make them accountable to each other, but there has to be a sort of a buck stops here. And that might be the owner in a small team like that. In a larger team, I imagine it's going to be a designated team leader. And that role might rotate as well. It might rotate around. For example, I've worked in real estate companies where in their property management division, they move everyone around every 3 months. So whoever was looking after maintenance is now looking after inspections. That person is now doing opens and scheduling those. So they all get change in their environment. They're doing something differently. And there's no reason why we can't apply that in the IT industry as well. But having that leadership structure built in is significant.
And I guess, okay, so I guess becoming like, I'm just still like trying to kind of come up with a strategy there. So is it the technical lead who would be responsible? Like, I'm just trying to really like practically think how I can, at the moment, I don't know, like I'm working in IT consultancy. I have like, I don't know, 40 consultants working for us. How I can put this personal growth plan in place without using all my time on it?
Okay. So the time element starts with when you put someone on, the onboarding. Now, the way I do it is onboarding is as automated as you can possibly make it. So your first one-to-one would happen as part of that. That would be with the CEO, business owner, department head, plus the person that is going to be their supervisor initially. And if you think about it, what you know after 6 months with a business is not what you'll know after 12 months with a business. So you need to build that career progression, that career path. That gives our people a clarity of direction and where they can go in the company. It's not easy. This whole program, the Attract, Retain and Motivate, usually takes about 9 to 12 months to get installed and operating. And it's a big investment for any business. But if you can start not losing people, which costs you $20,000, then putting someone on, as Heath said, that's cost you another $20,000, so that's $40,000. Those numbers add up significantly. So the cost of investing in something of this nature is pretty insignificant if you have 2, 3, 4 people leaving every year, and it's going to cost you $40,000 a person.
And actually, yeah, the group is asking, Heath, what do you mean by 20K sign-on? So we were talking about it just before Jagru, and it's, some people get a bonus, sign-on bonus, then they're moving from one organization to another.
Yeah, it probably means that every 12 months you can leave and get another extra $20,000 for nothing, which defeats the purpose, of course.
For moving the company. And I guess, yeah, so coming back to the point that I guess coming back to the point about resources, I guess every business needs to estimate how much does it cost them, how much recruitment cost them, compared to, the putting in place the retention program. And basically, if we calculate that and we calculate how much money we're spending on these sign-on bonuses, onboarding new staff and so on. So how much actually money we spend on retention might be just, the not that significant percent than it seems when we're thinking about, putting all these programs in place.
Oh, exactly. And one of the side benefits is when someone does leave, all right, we've got a hard cost. I've estimated at 20,000 hard cost when someone leaves. But what if they've damaged a relationship with your client because they haven't been managed well through their journey with the company? Now, if you've got a company that's being billed $2,000 a month, that's $24,000 a year. If your lifetime customer value is 10 years at 24,000, that's $240,000 cost to the company. And that's the other aspect from having all of these things strategically aligned and having those one-to-ones every 3 weeks. And they're not significant time. Probably 15, 20 minutes plus the time it takes to drink your coffee. It's not like you're sitting down for an hour and a half and going through a 300-point questionnaire, because there's only so much you can do in 3 weeks. So going from A to Z, you've broken that down into just going from A to B, and to do that you need to do this. And that flows through into their career path, into their career progression. You're meeting their expectations of what their outcome is wanted, and they're finding out what the expectation of the business is. And one of the things probably showing my age here, I have a concept, so you've got to identify, and I call it Where's Wally? And we've all seen the Where's Wally posters. And that's identifying where an employee is on their career path. So if they're not making any progression, there's a question for the one-to-one meeting. Why aren't you doing that? What's wrong? How can we help? It may be that they've gone off track and they're now doing something that they really don't want to do. And Heath mentioned lack of interest in work. Now, obviously, you're not able to fulfill every demand, but if people are being listened to and cared for, they'll have a different perspective.
And I guess, coming back to this, 15 minutes catch-ups, what sort of, do you have, I don't know, your top list of the questions you would ask people on catch-ups like that?
Well, what's working? What's not working? What's next? That's the typical first three. Then it's a review from the previous meeting. So there would have been, or there should have been, actions. The what's next. Okay, how are we going with those? What's the problem? Is there a problem? Were you able to do them? Did you have an issue? Were you uncomfortable doing something? So you then can identify there might be a need for training, mentorship, or some technical developments, technical skills enhancement. So you're identifying those issues before they get to the point where nobody loves me, I'm leaving, and they'll pay me more anyway.
So what if, we're having this 15 minutes conversation and the person saying, I'm bored?
That's great. That's absolutely marvelous, because then we can do what I call the 5 whys. That's interesting. Why are you bored? Oh, yeah, I just come along and that. Okay, and why is that so? So if you can ask 5 why questions, you can get down to the root cause. of why this is an issue, because that's only surface level. I'm bored. Could be that they're not being challenged. If they're not being challenged, what's not challenging them? What do they want to be challenged by? And it might be that someone is totally over being in the call center and they want to move into business development. So if they want to go into business development, you then redraw their career plan, their career path, allocate trainings, get them involved with your key business development person so that they can 2IC to them and learn what it's all about. Because then they might find, oh, gee, grass isn't that much greener on this side. I was pretty good where I was. And then they can move back if they want, or they can move forward. It's very much about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs and meeting those needs for certainty, security, the challenges. And we don't do that well in Australia at all. I know in many corporate jobs, people get promoted to their highest level of incompetence. And that's not good for them. It's not good for the business. In Telstra, for example, we had senior managers just got lobbed into a position, no knowledge about what we were doing. And we also had senior managers that were really boots on the ground. They were doing the walking around. Now, I've been in a couple of companies that have senior managers that actually do that walking around. James Strong, who was the CEO of Qantas for many, many years, he would, if he was at an airport, he'd be on the tarmac talking to his people. He'd be talking to the baggage handlers. He'd be talking to the guys fueling up the plane. He'd be talking to the ground crew. Now, that's totally different from someone like Holmes a Court or Gina Reinhardt. I don't think you'd see them out on the mine, talking to someone on the back of a 60-ton truck. And look, it's horses for courses. Some businesses, yes, some businesses, no. And having remote areas, that's another challenge. And really, you need to be in tune with your people. You have to be a people person. You've got to be a leader. And what's that saying? Great leaders eat last. And that's the whole point of it.
Yeah. Guys, whoever is on with us still, can you please actually let us know why did you leave your previous job? Yeah. So curious to know what was the main reason you moved from one role to another. Was it just you got bored, or you feel maybe too much stress? Yes, or maybe you were all overloaded in your position. Maybe you just purely move for money, or you move because you can learn something new. Would be good to know, guys, if you can put in the comments what was your main motivation for moving to another role. And I guess Brian is what we haven't mentioned, I guess. So what else? What other tips you can give us in terms of the keeping your staff happy?
One of the biggest things, I think, is recognition. Now, in terms of recognition, there's the pat on the back, reward in public, admonish in private, always that. But do something different, be creative. So, as an example, if you have an employee, and you should know this because you're now doing 3 weekly action times where you're going to find out that they're a big fan of a particular footballer, maybe Bontempelli, for example. Now, there's a site out there where these celebrities will record for you a video message. Okay, so let's say our employee of the month, he's done some excellent work with the client's come back to the boss and said, look, fantastic work, Robbie did a tremendous job. And we know Robbie's a big fan of Footscray and Bontempelli. And sorry if you're not a fan of AFL football. Now, imagine what would happen if you went onto this site, Bontempelli, and said, look, we've got this guy who's done this great work. So Monday morning, Robbie gets an email from Bontempelli, it's a video mail, saying, hey, Robbie, here you did this fantastic work for XYZ company and they were super stoked by what you did. Mate, that is over and above. I'm so proud of you. Look, keep up that fantastic work. It's great to hear that you're appreciated by the client and fantastic work there looking after him, XYZ company. Mate, keep it up and go doggies. This is the bomb. Now, imagine if that employee gets that on Monday, how's he going to feel? He's going to feel, wow, what is this? He's then going to show it to everyone in the office, because that's what we do, and say, hey, look what I got. Hey, look what I got. And then he perhaps goes to a function or down to the gym or the footy club, and he does the same thing again. So he's now part of a group, a tribe that really love him. And he's really stoked by this. Now, you're not going to do it for every employee, but that's an example of something you could do once a quarter to reward high-level achievements. And recognizing people's achievements. And it might be completing a course and getting your NLP practitioner certificate. People like to be recognized.
And yes, and I guess we're coming back to this, personalized approach to your employees, kind of understanding. Again, coming back, to even to Maslow hierarchy or just any kind of, needs, what actually important for each person, because what's motivate one person might completely not motivate another one. And I think that's one of the biggest failures in general when it comes to motivation, because we tend to think that we can motivate all our employees the same way, where different people with different personality will react to different things.
Yeah, it's not one size fits all ever, because people are people.
Yeah, and so, I guess where we need to be careful when we're talking about financial reward, because we will have some industry standards, or if it's a big organization, they might have some salary brackets or something where you can't really personalize it as much. But yeah, Brian, as you mentioned, it's like a little touch with the recognizing the employee of the quarter and doing something really special that maybe person wouldn't expect, and not just like a $1,000 my gift card.
Well, in Telstra, that was very common. The gift cards, $1,000 my gift cards.
I just said it on the top of my head, but it's like probably the most common.
Yeah, that's the most common, and having social activities where people, and it's not about going to the pub and drinking pots and pots. It's more about engaging in a social environment. Again, it's building your tribe. It's now in larger companies, they do have employee share schemes. When we were with Telstra and Telstra went public, we got an advantage in what we were issued the shares, and it was called the employee share plan. Plus, we were able to offset the cost of it against future dividends. Mind you, that was the heydays of mobiles when it was a bit of a gravy train, but anyway, we'll leave that one. But there's no reason why a company cannot do that. and it doesn't matter what size company. You do need to have proper accounting and legal advice, obviously. But once you've got that in place, it's a marvelous tool for having people take ownership, building commitment to the company. And it really, really helps.
Brian, I'm just cautious about the time as well. We're up to 45 minutes.
Good grief, where did that go?
Mark of our conversation. So I guess, guys, if you have any questions to Brian or any comments in terms of like your experience, maybe in any of the companies you've been working with and what you maybe enjoy from that part, have you had any experience of, receiving some award and recognition that really, I guess, touch your feelings more than just, the $1,000 Maya gift card? Would be nice if you share with us in the comments as well. Brian, I know that you also like running some programs, and I guess everyone can participate in and discover the team score. So can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yes, this is a diagnostic scorecard. It's very basic level. It measures on 3 factors, primarily on goals, and it's fairly simple. We've designed it so that it's more yes/no questions, generally. Only takes 2 or 3 minutes, and it gives you an indication of where your business will sit in terms of being an A player business. Now, it's valuable for both employees and for business owners, actually. So for the employees, they might have a totally different perspective to the business owner. The business owner might think it's all champagne and roses, where in reality it's may not be quite there. So it's an interesting little survey there. We've got the link in the chat there for the. You just click on that; it'll take you to one of my web pages, and just click on the start the diagnostic.
I've just posted for you guys in the comments as well on the YouTube channel, so you can click in and take the diagnostic and see what results you get. Also, obviously, feel free to contact Brian. Brian, what's the best ways to connect with you?
Look, best way is probably the telephone or email, but I'm relatively active on LinkedIn as well.
Perfect. So, guys, obviously Brian's details on the screen. If you would like to connect and have any more questions that you would want to take offline, please feel free to do so. And I guess before we'll wrap up the things, I also want to remind you, that we're going live, obviously, every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. with various topics. So next Wednesday, 15th of June, will be no live streams. We'll actually have some drinks planned on the 15th of June with some of the speakers. So if you've been following my YouTube channel and live streams for a long time, please send me a direct message and I'll let you know some details. Otherwise, in 2 weeks, on the 22nd of June, we're going to talk with Shivangi, and we're going to talk with you about how to get promoted as a woman in IT industry. Obviously, we talk a lot about the gender gap and different strategies. So yes, if you if you're a female and you're working in IT, that live stream on the 22nd of June is definitely for you. So make sure to join us in 2 weeks. Brian, I guess coming back to you, I always like to finish all the live streams firstly with a bit of a summary. I
Sure.
guess let's just try to summarize what we talk about employer retention. I guess the from my perspective, from what we discussed, my understanding, there's a few components of the employee retention, and we need to make sure that we combine it with attraction of the talent and motivation as well. And when it comes to retention, obviously we need to pay attention to things like reward, which can be financial and non-financial, some personal development, and also the employee's expectation. Did I summarize it right? And what would you
Yeah,
like to
I'd
add?
add into that wellness, because stress in the workplace is enormous, and having a wellness policy in place and strategy is essential, because there's so much pressure out there at the moment, both from having to do the job and manage family, kids, the whole 9 yards. So having a welfare orientated workplace is significant.
And I'm glad you mentioned it, because actually in more than 2 weeks, in the 4 weeks, we're going to talk with Kanika, and Kanika will be covering exactly this topic: how to stay on top of your health as a
Perfect.
busy IT professional. So we're going to dive in onto this actually well-being programs, and how to implement little changes in your life that can fit in your schedule, that you can actually don't just lose the track of your well-being, even then you, I guess, have to work over time and constantly being under the pump. So yeah, so that's the 16th of July, guys. So that's in 4 weeks' time. And Brian, I guess let's finish with your favorite inspirational quote.
It's one from Richard Branson, actually. His quote is, "Train people well enough so they can leave, and treat them well enough so they don't want to."
Exactly. It's I think it was like a similar quote. Then I guess like one manager saying to another, what if we'll train people and they will leave? But what if we will train people and we won't train people and they will stay?
Exactly. That's it in a nutshell.
So yeah, I guess that two quotes cover up our conversation today.
Absolutely.
And showing how
Look,
important
it's
the
such a big
investing.
area, and as businesses, we tend to not look at the whole thing strategically and make sure things are all linked to the best result. So for me, when you're attracting someone to work with you, that's when retention really starts. It's not just a separate element. If you bring people on board correctly, they're onboarded, they learn the company culture, that impacts on them staying.
Yep, 100%. So look at retention as a holistic process, not just the some steps that you have to do once you have someone bored, or once you feel like someone about to leave.
Exactly. Look, I might tell you a quick disaster story on attraction, if you like.
Yeah.
An IT company located in West Melbourne, they put an ad on Seek, and as you might expect, they had 500 applicants for that one position. So that, for a start, that's horrendous. Anyway, they managed to narrow it down to 2 people, and they were supposed to start on Monday. All right, well, one person didn't even turn up. No calls, no nothing. The other person started, and after 4 hours said, "Oh, look, I don't like this job, I'm leaving. I didn't realize I had to talk to people." And talk about a waste of probably 3 weeks' work. Just going through the applications, couple of minutes each, 500, there's pretty much all of the week gone. So that's a real horror story, and it's being repeated. I was doing some similar work for a hotel chain that wanted a kitchen hand. Not a highly skilled position by any means, but a very important position. They wanted to interview 100 people, and they set up interview times, probably just a 5-minute introduction interview. Not one of those 100 applicants turned up for it. There's some horrendous stories out there in the people management field.
I guess in IT industry, it's a bit different this time. You put an ad on and no one's apply.
That's precisely it. And that's why you need to be attracting people. You want to have a pull strategy, not a push strategy.
Yeah, so putting ads on in the IT industry doesn't work anymore. So hoping that, someone with the relevant skills just apply for your Seek advertising. Unfortunately, it's almost like magic these days.
And career pages are so important on any website for any business, because if you don't have them, you're not going to attract anyone organically.
Again, guys, yes, the retention of the staff start basically with right attraction in the first place. And yeah, coming back, to the point that retention is a holistic approach. It's not just like a one-off strategy that we have in place when we, have some, have already have people on board and, trying to put some growth plan together.
Absolutely. So, no more silos.
Jason, I think your comments is breaking up. So does finding a job, it seems, then you don't have any application, then probably when you put the application on, there is no one applies. Same way when then you apply for the jobs and no one replies. That's what you mean, Jason? I'm not sure what you mean, so let me know. Okay, Brian, I guess let's just repeat that quote that you mentioned before, so that we can summarize our life.
There's a mantra, and every morning say, train people well enough so they can leave, but treat them well enough so they don't want to.
Perfect. So, and guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Jana.
Thank you. See you.
Bye.